Alright, we'll get right into it. So today, we'll be talking about my breakout players for each position. And I'm going to give you guys a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends that I think are going to break out. And this is my breakout team for 2020. I also have a part 2 coming out shortly, so stay tuned for that. My first quarterback that I'm going to talk about is Daniel Jones. So Daniel Jones had a pretty good 2020 season due to his circumstances. Saquon was hurt, Sterling Shepard was hurt, Evan Ingram was hurt. He had a few blow-up games in 2020. Week 3 against the Buccaneers, Week 8 against Detroit, Week 10 against the Jets, Week 16 against Washington. Now he gets Evan Ingram back, still has Golden Tate, still has Sterling Shepard. He gets him back, and Darius Slayton could take that sophomore leap that we're kind of expecting. Saquon's fully healthy again, so Daniel Jones could be that player that breaks out this season. And he's kind of an underrated rusher as well with the football, so he could get you a couple safe points. But he looked pretty good in his rookie season, and I expect him to only do better in his sophomore season. But beware, I think Daniel Jones will start off really slowly, so if you draft him to be your starter, pick someone else up, because in his first 3 games, this is his schedule: Steelers Week 1, at Bears Week 2, and then against the 49ers. That's a tough schedule to begin the season, so take advantage. Know this ahead of time before you draft Daniel Jones, and draft a backup quarterback who has a good schedule his first 3 weeks. But anyways, after that, he plays the Rams, the Cowboys, Washington, the Eagles, Bucks, Washington, Bengals, Cardinals, and Browns. That's a really, really good schedule for a quarterback. So I expect him to, maybe even have a blow-up season this year, depending on if his weapons can stay healthy or not. But this is really an intriguing player that I like to pick up later on in the rounds, just because I really like his talent. The second wide receiver I have for my all-breakout team in 2020 is Darius Slayton. I talked about him a little bit with Daniel Jones, mentioning him as a weapon, but I think he's going to be Daniel Jones' number 1 option again. Right now it's Evan Ingram, but he's injury prone. He hasn't finished the season his whole career. Tate's old. Sterling Shepard's injury prone. He went off in the later portion of the season. He finished as the wide receiver 17 through weeks 10 through 16 in his rookie year. He's only going to get better. He's going to improve with Daniel Jones. He's going to get that chemistry in with Daniel Jones. And I talked about him in one of my previous videos for my Dynasty Buy Lows. I absolutely love Darius Slayton. Yeah, I just think he's going to be Daniel Jones' wide receiver number 1 again in 2020. And he's only going to get better. So take advantage of his ADP. I think he's going as a 9th round pick, which is kind of crazy for the amount of upside that this guy has. Alright, we're going to speed this video up because I don't want it to be too long. But next up, I got Josh Jacobs. And he was the RB15 before his shoulder injury through weeks 1 through 15, while only playing just over 50% of the snaps his whole rookie season, and not getting barely any passing down work. So you take that into the fact that they've already come out. I think it was the Raiders GM. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that. But they said that Josh Jacobs is expected to get more passing work in 2020. They got rid of DeAndre Washington, and he's only going to get better in his second year in the league. He's going to be a workhorse. Jalen Richard's only there just to be, a filler for a running back just in case he gets injured. He's super talented, and I'm super excited for him in his second year in the league. The second running back I have on my list, and he's not a player I'm too high on, and I've never been too high on his talent, but I could definitely see him breaking out in 2020, and that's Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones is still really young, y'all. Like, he's 23. He's younger than Keyshawn Vaughn, the rookie running back who they drafted this year. Bruce Arians has already came out. He said he's the guy for the offense. This could be a very explosive offense, and if he's just a little bit involved in the passing game, I could see him having a big year. He accounted for 1,000 total rushing yards last season. He will be in line for that goal line work, and realistically take that step up, especially with all these weapons that this offense has. He could get a lot of touchdowns, and his ADP is rising, but this is a guy who is going in the middle rounds, and he has just as much of a chance to break out as any of these other guys going around him at the running back position. So definitely like Ronald Jones. We'll see how far his ADP goes, but as of right now, I still like him as maybe an RB3 with upside. And the first wide receiver I have on my all breakout list for 2020 fantasy football is Scary Terry. And the reason I love Scary Terry this year is because the talent is there. And the situation from last year, it didn't really get any worse. The talent's there. He's the only wide receiver on that team. He looked amazing his rookie season, posting 919 yards, 7 touchdowns on 58 catches on a super bad offense. You take into the fact he's the only wide receiver on that team could even do anything besides maybe Gandy Golden, who I'm not too big of a fan on. This offense is in desperate need of a playmaker. I could see them heavily targeting Terry Mclaurin in his second year in the league. He's only going to get better. And, you know, this team is going to get blown out a lot. And I expect a lot of garbage points from Scary Terry in 2020. So I absolutely love Scary Terry as a wide receiver too. So pick him up. My third receiver that I have on my breakout list, my 2020 breakout list, is Mike Williams. And this is a guy who's extremely talented. He's going extremely late and a player who a lot of people have forgotten about. He quietly posted 1,000 yards last season while only having 49 catches and only 2 touchdowns. Now that Phillip Rivers is gone, maybe a guy like Justin Herbert, who they drafted in the first round of the draft this season, could finally utilize Mike Williams to his full potential. Because Phillip Rivers, all he did was just check it down to Austin Eckler the whole year last year. Mike Williams is ready to break out. And I think if Justin Herbert can come in and these two can get some chemistry going together, I think a lot of deep balls are going to be thrown to Mike Williams this season. And he's just an upside pick with one of your later picks in this year's draft. And he's full of upside. And he's just a guy that I believe in just due to his talent. I've always liked Mike Williams. So draft Mike Williams if you want a high upside wide receiver who could pop off when Justin Herbert comes into play. Someone who I've been high on since their rookie season just because he's such an athletic freak. And I think this year is finally the year that he's going to break out. And that's Mike Gesicki. He's an athletic freak coming into his third year in the league. Typically the breakout season for tight ends. He was the tight end 6 last season through weeks 12 through 16 in the later portion of the year when Fitzmagic fully took over this offense. He still has that report with Ryan Fitzmagic coming into first portion of the season. But adding Tua Tagovailoa to this offense in the second portion of the season only adds another layer of upside to Mike Gesicki's 2020 outlook. And with both Albert Wilson and Allen Hurns opting out, that only leaves more targets for a guy like Mike Gesicki in this offense. And in an offense where they're going to have to pass it more than not, I think Mike Gesicki could really break out onto the scene. I've always loved his talent. Chan Gailey has already said that he's going to play the slot. And imagine this, a 6'6", 250-pound tight end who runs a 4.5 in the slot with Tua Tagovailoa. Who do rookie quarterbacks love to target? The slot and the tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. Mike Gesicki is going to be playing 2 of those, the slot, and he's also going to be the tight end. So I think he could be a really, really good safety blanket for Tua Tagovailoa in his rookie year. And I really, really like his 2020 outlook. I love his talent, and I expect him to break out in 2020. The final person who I will be talking about in this video, a tight end, I talked about him as well with Mike Gesicki in my Titans to Target video. That's Hayden Hurst. The Falcons spent a second-round pick on a first-round talent like Hayden Hurst. I expect them to use Hayden Hurst just like they did Austin Hooper last season, and in a Dirk Koetter offense that's extremely friendly to the tight end position. You also take into the fact that the Falcons passed the ball more than any other team in 2019, and I don't expect that to change one bit. In a division where they play the Saints and Bucks twice a year, this offense is going to have to pass it. So there is more than enough targets to go around for everybody. Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Hayden Hurst, maybe even some Russell Gage. You know, I truly expect Hayden Hurst to break out and be a top 5 tight end this season. You heard it here first. I absolutely love Hayden Hurst. He was a first-round pick not too long ago. Now you put him in an offense like this that loves to pass the ball. He's going to get targeted a lot this season. He's already building up that rapport with Matt Ryan. I've seen reports that he's training and he's practicing with Matt Ryan already, so I absolutely love that coming out. Love Hayden Hurst in 2020. I'm targeting both Mike Gesicki and Hayden Hurst in every single one of my drafts, so you should too. and I expect both of these tight ends to truly break out in 2020. And I also expect everybody on this list to break out. Most of these guys, if not all of these guys, will break out. I also have a part 2 coming where I go into more depth on other guys who I really like in the 2020 season to break out. So that's all I have for you in this video. Stay tuned for the part 2.